You can follow us and watch the live coverage on Facebook at Big Family Radio, Instagram Big Family Radio, YouTube and TikTok at Big Family Radio and Big Family TV. You can also download our radio app on the Google Play Store, on Android and App Store on iOS. Let's go for a quick commercial break, and when we are back, I would give you the details of these stories and more.
Admission, admission, admission. Are you looking for a computer institution with a serene atmosphere in equipping you with the ability to deepen your understanding and in-depth knowledge in computerization? Then the answer is Big Family Multimedia Institute. Our dedicated and experienced teachers are ready to provide personal attention, support, and help you bring your fusion to bear. We are located at Amasama Dobrogono, Upper Class Junction, and Santa Maria Family and Friend. For more information, contact 0555 20 80 56 0540 932 188. Website bfmnetworks.com. Email info@bfmnetwork.com. Other affiliates include Center for Trade, Big Family TV, Big Family News, Big Family Radio, Big Family Event, Big Family Multimedia Institute, KabaraInfo.com, Trustees, Okman Motors, Soko Mall, ABK TV Ghana. Enroll now and experience the difference.
You are all that matters.
You're welcome back. My name is Esther Akosia-Gbobli, and you can still watch the live coverage on Facebook at Big Family Radio, YouTube and TikTok at Big Family Radio and Big Family TV. Now moving on. Honorable Larry Dugbe, Managing Editor of the Herald, has expressed strong admiration for President John Dramani Mahamad's courageous leadership, even in the face of potential pushback from influential and entrenched interests. In an interview, Larry Dugbe emphasized that he wholeheartedly commends President Mahama for taking decisive actions that many leaders might shy away from due to the risk of antagonizing powerful figures behind the scenes. He pointed out that although the president has earned widespread praise, particularly from ordinary citizens who feel the direct impact of his policies, it is important to recognize that this same boldness could be provoking significant resistance from those higher up the power ladder. Dugbe stressed that this tension underscores the weight of Mahamad's choices and the resilience required to lead fearlessly despite such opposition.
Taking this bold initiative, the review, or sorry, the audit thing that he's promised, I want to believe that at the end of the day, it will be done by a very, very, very competent institution, and that Zoom Lion has also promised to make itself available, and all the state actors who have also been involved in this will also, put their documents on the table, and then the institution that is going to investigate this very well. And at the end of the day, put the report out there for all of us to see. Okay, it's important. It's very important. Yeah. It is very important. I'm saying this because then, I mean, suddenly you are hearing people are commending President Mahama, but it's only down there. You don't have people up there, praising him the way he's supposed to be praised. That an almost 20-year-old contract has been terminated, and he's saying that accountability, review, competitive bidding, and so on. We need to commend him for that. Now,
moving on, Honorable Dixon Aduma Kwikisi, former member of Parliament for Anyaso Utuom, has called on municipal chief executives and all relevant local authorities to intensify their oversight of development projects to ensure accountability and optimal use of public resources. Speaking in an interview, he emphasized that regular and thorough supervision is essential whenever government contracts are awarded, as this helps to prevent shoddy work and misappropriation of funds. He further stressed that those responsible for disbursing funds must take proactive steps to verify that projects are genuinely carried out according to the agreed specifications and timelines. According to him, strengthening monitoring and evaluation at every stage of project implementation will not only protect taxpayers' money, but also boost public confidence in the local government system.
And we're also talking about some of their activities that they render for government. Largely, one troublesome one, unfortunately, is fumigation, where it's difficult to ascertain fumigation when it has happened or when it hasn't happened. It's very difficult. And let me also add that there's been many issues. You know, I was privy to this because of my work with the Public Accounts Committee.
Right.
We'll go around the country, and troubling was the fact that, as you rightly said, the assembly leaders will be there. Though they have minimal supervisory role, they are unable to determine when Zoomlion gets paid or when it doesn't get paid. They'll be sitting in Savulugu only to hear that the Common Fund Administrator has issued cash or monies to Zoomlion. And
when they have concerns of the
you
service
know,
delivery.
when they can't even ascertain whether
You are listening
the
to Big Family
fumigation
Radio.
or
Big Family Radio.
the disposal
Obiase
has
Eye.
been actually done. So these were some of the, you know, trending matters with regards to Zoomlion and government. And I think that, I'm not going to say I'm happy, but I think that from an administrative standpoint,
Yeah.
it is very important that the person that pays has very good supervisory role to be sure that the work has been done. So if the MC or DC has a huge say in when the contractor gets paid and determines that the work truly has been done, it helps. But we unfortunately had a centralist approach, which then led to sometimes monies being paid even far in advance of the work being done. And when you've prepaid, as ECG gets, sometimes the delivery of service is impaired.
Yeah.
To end the local news, Bedi Zidane, the Member of Parliament representing the Laura constituency, expressed strong confidence in Justice Philip Bright Mensah's suitability for appointment to the Supreme Court during the recent vetting of nominees. Addressing Justice Mensah directly, Mr. Zidane stated that he would not waste any time questioning whether the nominee was fit for the position, because he was personally convinced that Justice Mensah met all the necessary criteria. He emphasized that, in his view, the nominee had demonstrated the competence, depth of legal knowledge, and extensive experience required to serve with distinction on the highest court of the nation. His remarks reflected a firm endorsement of Justice Mensah's candidacy and an assurance that he fully trusted in the nominee's ability to uphold the principles of justice at the Supreme Court level.
Thank you. Yes, my Lord, I've gone through your CV and I've also listened to you. Honestly, there's absolutely no reason why you should not be appointed a Supreme Court judge. Thank you. You have done all that it takes to become a judge, right from the magistrate through the ranks at the Supreme Court. And I think that I will not worry myself about whether you are qualified to be a Supreme Court judge or not. You are. So I have no questions for you, my Lord. As far as I'm concerned, you are fit for the job and you are fit for purpose. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations.
Now moving on to the international news. Former Representative Conor Lamb, a Democrat from Pennsylvania, appeared on the weeknight on MSNBC to address the rising tide of inflammatory political rhetoric and the alarming increase in threats and acts of violence against public officials. including the recent targeted shootings of 2 lawmakers in Minnesota. Lamp argued that President Donald Trump bears significant responsibility for fueling this dangerous climate. He asserted that Trump has transformed American politics into a personal battlefield centered on himself and those he labels as enemies. According to Connor, the president cannot credibly claim to be either shocked or uninvolved when individuals who supported him, voted him, and placed their trust in his words take it upon themselves to pursue or attack the people he has vilified.
I've been trying to get folks on my side to stop, burying their head in the sand on this and stand up and speak out. When Democrats do on their side of the aisle, the public kind of yawns, or you get people screaming at them to sit down and be quiet because you're making something out of nothing. How do we begin to correct this direction that we're in right now, in your estimation, from what you're hearing and seeing out there? Weekends like this past one, we have voters and citizens coming out. Is that the place where we start? Where do you see this thing changing to deal with this sickness that we see right now?
Well, I mean, definitely the protests are an encouraging sign because it helps show people that they shouldn't be afraid. That it's okay for millions of people to go out there and talk about how much they disagree with Trump and how much they disagree with MAGA, and not need to feel like they're hiding behind the secure walls of their homes. But to your real question here, I remember thinking on January 6th that really Trump had only been telling the big lie for about 3 months at that point, and that lie was so powerful, algorithmically amplified over those months and just daily piped into the brains of millions of people all over this country. It was so powerful that you got several thousand people to travel hundreds of miles and go physically attack the Capitol, do something that none of us could ever imagine. And I remember thinking afterward, what's that going to be like after 3 years? What's it going to be like after 5 years or 10 years? And I think we're starting to see some of the fruit of that with this wave of violence. That he has just made politics about himself and his enemies. You send in the Marines after your enemies. You mobilize federal troops against enemies. And everything that he does pits himself against his enemies. And you cannot claim to be either surprised or not responsible when people who are loyal to you and voted for you and believed in you then go off on their own and pursue those enemies. So a leader really has a responsibility to put stuff like that to rest. And if you had a Democrat in the White House right now, you would see them out there actively talking about how important it is to get violence out of our politics.
In other stories, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer has issued a sharp rebuke of Senator Mike Lee following a controversial social media post in which Lee appeared to mock the recent violent attacks targeting lawmakers in Minnesota. Speaking to reporters, Schumer did not hold back his outrage, saying he was profoundly sickened and deeply disappointed that a certain member of the U.S. Senate would use a tragic incident, one that has left colleagues and communities shaken, as an opportunity to launch partisan jabs. Schumer described Senator Lee's remarks as not only insensitive, but outright reckless, arguing that such behavior trivializes a serious situation and disrespects the victims and their families. He further asserted that the Utah senator action fell far below the standards of decency and responsibility that the American people expect from their elected officials, stressing that the dignity of the Senate must be upheld, especially during times of national distress and mourning.
What happened in Minnesota, however, should be a warning. Political violence is not just on the rise in America, it's becoming all too normal. And it falls on all of us to stop it. When lawmakers are shot in their own home, when a governor's mansion is set ablaze, when the spouse of the Speaker of the House is nearly beat to death, when a violent mob storms the U.S. Capitol, and when a gunman tries to assassinate the President of the United States, it is not enough to just condemn these acts and move on. We need to recognize something needs to change. Condemning violence is only the first step, necessary, but a first step. We must all work together to address violence's root causes. We must take a serious look at the toxic forces that are radicalizing too many Americans into embracing violence. Most of all, when violence strikes, the answer is for us to come together regardless of party. That's especially important for U.S. senators. Sadly, we didn't see that this weekend. I wish I didn't have to say this, but I was deeply disappointed and sickened to see a member of this chamber use the tragedy in Minnesota to take cheap political shots at the other side on social media and risk escalating a perilous moment. When the senior senator from Utah posted what the senior senator from Utah posted after the shooting was reckless and beneath the dignity of his office. For a senator to fan the flames of division with falsities while the killer was still on the loose is deeply irresponsible. He should take down his post immediately and apologize to the families of the victims.
Moving on, Anna Halford, a field coordinator with Doctors Without Borders, has criticized Israel's U.S.-supported aid initiative in Gaza, arguing that it deliberately circumvents the established humanitarian framework that organizers like hers rely on to deliver assistance effectively. According to Halford, the aid scheme is being presented to the public and the international community as a genuine humanitarian effort, but in reality, it operates under a misleading premise that undermines coordinated relief work already in place. She emphasized that bypassing the recognized humanitarian system not only disrupts the delivery of essential aid, but also places additional strain on aid workers and jeopardizes the welfare of vulnerable civilians who depend on impartial and well-coordinated support.
The International Committee for the Red Cross Field Hospital in Rafah, they run a 65-bed surgical hospital. They have had more patients since the opening of their so-called system than they have cumulatively since the beginning of the war and the opening of that hospital. I can speak for MSF in this. We have never lost material in a systematic way. It would be impossible in any setting to avoid a certain amount of theft. We're not going to pretend otherwise. But we have seen nowhere near the kind of theft or deviation of our goods that has been offered as the pretext for this. I would like to also point out that Israel has also never offered any evidence of this deviation. It is a straw man, which it is a specious and cynical positionment to undermine a humanitarian system which was actually functioning. It cannot be a system which so systematically exposes people to a level of lethal and life-altering risk. It is shameful.
Israeli airstrikes have struck multiple targets inside Iran, with explosions reported in several locations, including the capital city, Tehran. According to Israeli officials, the operation successfully eliminated Iran's highest-ranking military commander, marking a significant escalation in tensions between the two countries. Eyewitness accounts and local media reports indicate that the strikes triggered widespread panic among residents in Tehran, leading to traffic jams and a rush of people attempting to flee the city. The exodus intensified after U.S. President Donald Trump issued a stark warning urging the immediate evacuation of Tehran, further fueling public fear and uncertainty about possible retaliatory attacks or additional strikes. The situation on the ground remains tense, with heightened security measures and emergency services on high alert, as both regional and international observers watch closely for Iran's response.
Reports coming out about the assassination of Ali Shadmani. From the Iranian side, we have got no confirmation in this regard. And just for your information, Ali Shadmani is heading the IRGC's firm for engineering and technical, let's say, parts of that building and headquarters, and he is said by the Israeli side to be assassinated. We've got no confirmation from the Iranian side, but still we have to keep in mind that Israeli strikes have ended up in assassination of a considerable number of Iranian top officials, including the commander-in-chief of IRGC, Hossein Salami, who was said and confirmed to be assassinated after the first day of Israeli strikes. We've got reports about sounds of explosion being heard from the eastern parts of Tehran. We hear sounds of explosion across the capital with activation of the air defense system in Tehran, and also we see across the cities less and less people due to this evacuation warning that came out initially from the Israeli side and now from the US President Donald Trump. We have to keep in mind that when we speak about Tehran, we're dealing with over 10 million people who are living in the city of Tehran and over 14 million living in the province of Tehran, which includes other cities like Pakdasht, Baramin, Qarchak. People are quite aware that the capital and the province is under attack. You see the feeling of anxiety, you see the feeling of fear if you speak to people, but at the same time, it's very interesting that you see a sense of solidarity among people who are still in the capital, but we can say that a considerable amount of the population have decided to leave the city, seeing these sounds of explosions, seeing these warning messages coming out.
To end the international news. Speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One, President Donald Trump stated that his objective is to secure a lasting resolution to the escalating conflict between Iran and Israel, rather than settling for what he described as a temporary and fragile ceasefire. Trump emphasized that merely pausing hostilities would not address the root causes of the tensions or guarantee long-term stability in the region. He underscored his administration's unwavering position that Iran must never be allowed to acquire a nuclear weapon, reiterating his commitment to using all necessary means to prevent Iran from advancing its nuclear ambitions. Trump also hinted at potential diplomatic and strategic measures he is preparing to support to ensure that any peace agreement between the two nations is robust and enforceable, aiming to protect both American interests and regional security in the Middle East.
It's very simple. You don't have to go too deep into it. They just can't have a nuclear weapon.
There's reports that you want to send the Vice President and Steve Witkoff to meet with the Iranians and have discussions. Is that something you're considering?
Not sure yet. I may. Depends on what happens when I get back.
What specifically is better than a ceasefire? What are you looking for here?
An end. A real end, not a ceasefire. An end.
So something that would be permanent?
Yeah, or giving up entirely.
Now moving on to the entertainment world. Ghanaian culinary sensation and digital trailblazer, Chef Abi, known off-screen as Abena Amwakwa Asintim Abuaje, has been selected as the sole Ghanaian representative for TikTok at the prestigious 2025 Cannes Lions International Festival of Creativity in France. This remarkable milestone follows a recent recognition on TikTok's 2025 Discover list, which spotlights 50 global creators shaping culture and inspiring creativity worldwide. The 72nd edition of the Cannes Lions Festival, taking place from June 16th to 20th, will feature Chef Abi in a series of impactful appearances. While in Cannes, she will join a high-profile Nestle panel on Wednesday, June 18th, and make an appearance at the TikTok Creator Cannes on Thursday, June 19th. She will also host an exclusive meet and greet with her fans. TikTok is leveraging this global stage to highlight creators and brands who are redefining storytelling and innovation, and Chef Abi stands proudly at the forefront, representing Ghana with distinction. Her participation is not just a personal achievement, but a national moment of pride and a significant step forward for African representation in global creative spaces. As a cultural ambassador for Ghanaian cuisine, she celebrates tradition and heritage, using the universal language of food to connect people across continents. With over 1.3 million TikTok followers, Chef Abi has carved out a unique niche by transforming beloved Ghanaian dishes like wache, kenke, jollof and banku into vibrant digital stories that honor culture and community. Her storytelling extends beyond recipes, It preserves identity and sparks global curiosity about Ghanaian and African cuisine. Food is my language. Through it all, I tell stories, honor my roots, and invite the world to taste Ghana, says Chef Abby. From Accra to France, Chef Abby is proving that Ghana's rich flavors and creative voices belong to the world's biggest stage. Now to end the news. Despite torrential rains that turned much of Accra into a maze of flooded streets on Saturday, June 14th, the National Theatre of Ghana buzzed with excitement for the second edition of Three Faces of Jeffrey Naughty. What could have been a washed-out event instead became an unforgettable night of laughter, reflection and celebration. Organized by Casa Entertainment and Focus Afrique, the show defied the odds, proving the power of gripping storytelling and devoted fans. Guests began trickling in as early as 5 p.m., 2 hours before showtime, undeterred by the downpour. The lobby filled with chatter, red carpet snapshots, and light refreshment as anticipation grew. In a city where rain often means delays, the show surprised many by starting just after 8 p.m. By then, the ground floor was packed, the balcony bustling, and the entire 1,500-seat venue sold out within an hour. Those who couldn't find seats hovered in the lobby or backstage, unwilling to miss a moment. A lineup of Ghana's rising comedy stars sets the tone. I.D. James Brown, Kwame Obed Wan Noah, Kojo PJ, Nino GH, Chemical and General Nketia kept the crowd roaring with tales of everyday Ghanaian life, politics and playful tribal banter. Then came the main event. As the lights dimmed, a deep baritone voice from the back of the auditorium called out, "Big Gun, Jeffrey Naughty's on-screen sidekick," hyped up the audience before the curtains rose to reveal Jeffrey Naughty himself, radiant in a glittering black suit. The promise of Three Faces unfolded into so much more. First, Jeffrey stunned the audience as a spoken word artist, challenging Ghanaians to tackle social issues like littering, climate change, corruption and child exploitation. His commanding delivery held the hall in rapt silence. Next, he reappeared through a dramatic cloud of smoke, clad as a traditional Ga priest, offering prayers and words of encouragement in Ga. Even those who didn't understand the language joined in song and laughter, captivated by his energy. A powerful skit with veteran actress Calcium Sinari tackled drug and sexual abuse with a hint of humor, before Clemento Suarez joined Jeffrey on stage. After an emotional Father's Day tribute with his father, Clemento teased an ending, but the crowd wouldn't have it. They demanded Jeffrey's most beloved character, the dragon. At the playful countdown, Jeffrey vanished backstage and buzzed back at 1 in ragged denim, a red bandana and his signature black lips. Indoor fireworks erupted as he transformed into the dragon, belting out Jama chants and rapid-fire bars, sending fans into a frenzy. Many showered him with CD notes while an artist revealed a live painting capturing Jeffrey's evolving personas. To cap off the night, surprise act Jubed and veteran musician Praetietia took the stage, bridging generations with hits old and new. Returning to the spotlight, Jeffrey thanked the sold-out crowd for braving the storm and paid tribute to sponsors including Avivi Foods, Farm Global, Compil Ghana, Belacqua and M Notify. In the days, social media has been flooded with praise for what many call a landmark performance, a testament that no downpour can drown true talent. With comedy, poetry, music and drama rolled into one, Three Faces of Jeffrey Naughty has solidified Jeffrey Naughty as one of Ghana's most versatile and bankable performers. Now to end the news, a recap of the top stories. Honorable Larry Dogbe has applauded President Mahama for his bold leadership. Dixon Adumako Kisi has urged all MCEs to intensify project supervision. In the international news, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer has condemned Senator Mike Lee for mocking Minnesota attacks. Israeli airstrikes has hit Iran and killed top military commander. In the entertainment news, Chef Abby to represent Ghana at the 2025 Cannes Lion Festival on TikTok. News at 6 was brought to you by MB Cakes and Pastries, Ahunto AA Construction Works, Dim Herbal, Root Fashion and Decor, Williams Pub, Trustees Network Group, Big Family Multimedia Institute, BFM Store, and Center for Trade. You can watch the live coverage and also follow all our live programs on Facebook at Big Family Radio, Instagram at Big Family Radio, YouTube and TikTok at Big Family Radio, and Big Family TV. You can also download our radio app on the Google Play Store on Android and App Store on iOS. A massive thank you to my production team. This is News at 6 from the studios of Big Family Radio here in Accra. My name is Esther Kusiak Bobli. Thank you for joining and have a good evening.